Good afternoon, gardening friends. It's now Tuesday, February 26th at just before 2 p.m. and I just want to give you a quick update. I know my last couple of videos have been fairly long, and actually I'm still in the middle of editing the last one to upload it while I'm shooting this, but I just want to give you a couple of really quick updates on things that I've noticed around here in terms of the gardening without going into a full-blown update for the day. So let's take a quick look. We've got the tomato, and we've got our first little tomato growing on there. There's not a whole lot developing in the big planter, in the melon patch, if you will. Let me pull back the screen, and you can see we've actually got quite a few buds now. So the ones that I thought the birds were getting to, I'm not sure if it was them or what, but we've recovered from that. We don't know. I have no idea how long all that's going to take to grow. On the buttercrunch lettuce, which I'm letting go to flower, and actually I think it needs a little more water today, I've got flowers. So nothing really else. You know, the ones that weren't growing really haven't grown that much more. We've got the nasturtiums, which are transplanted and doing well. I've cut back the Swiss chard. Our little top of the broccoli there is doing nicely. And I had noticed, and this was the main thing I wanted to point out, I have noticed something that I was kind of worried about, is putting these plant cards at the back here might actually create shade, and you can really see in the sun at this point in the day how it does create shade. And if you look carefully at the radishes, you can see that there's very little on the back, but there's more on the front, and you can see kind of where the shade is in relation to that. So that's kind of what's going on. So I've decided to start now taking them out of the back, pulling the sticks, and stapling them to the front, even though that pierces the lamination and makes them not quite so waterproof. But we'll just hope that that doesn't become a big issue. So I'm going to continue moving these from the back to the front, and not much else going on. I'll update you tomorrow if I see anything else. Good afternoon, gardening friends. It's now March 2nd at just past noon, and I'm going to try and make this one a little bit more compact than some of my past videos. I'm just going to kind of cover the bright points of what's going on here. So, there's actually some really good news. I noticed earlier this week that my tomato plant actually had more than just the one tomato there. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's at least 3 of them up there, and there's another 4, 5, 6 of them at a lower branch here. It's really kind of hard to see, so what I'll do is I'll shoot some stills and insert them here. As far as the progress up on the big planter here, the screening seems to be working nicely. You can see there's a lot of debris there, so they're just dropping it in there. But let me lift this up, and you can see that the lettuce, the black-seeded Simpson lettuce, is doing nicely. The spinach is doing nicely. That's one spinach. Let me drop that back down there. Let me pull some of this debris back, and you can see we've got Swiss chard growing right in the middle there. We've got Malabar spinach growing right in the middle there, and they haven't been picked by the birds, who are definitely enjoying their little perch up here. And there's nothing on the nasturtium here, but the melon patch is doing nicely. You can see that. And I put a little stake in there, not so much for them to climb or anything, but so I can actually put the screening on and allow them to get a little bit taller before I remove the screening, when I stop fearing that the birds are just going to pick them right out of the ground, when they start looking more like plants and less like worms. The buttercrunch lettuce is going to seed. It's going to flower. First we'll get flowers, then we'll get seeds. So I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm looking forward to harvesting the seeds. Most of the rest of the experiments are about the same. The experiments and plants are about the same. On the broccoli, the Pac-Man broccoli, you can see I've got flowers now. And from the research I've done, basically what I want to do is wait for those to go to flower and then to close back up again, and then to get a little sort of fluffy tail, I guess kind of like a dandelion, because ultimately those fluffy tails are what, when it breaks back open again, helps to spread them on the wind. I have moved all my cards down so that they don't block the sun, and so my Easter egg radishes are starting to bounce back in the backside there. We've got the Tonda di Parigi is growing. Next couple, which are tomatoes, have not germinated yet, but I'm looking forward to spanking them just like the others, and I will put a link to that video again for those of you that are probably snickering right now. It's a serious thing. I love the term spanking just because it sounds odd, but it really does appear to work. The experiment with the geraniums, the one on the left was the one without honey, and the one on the right I dipped in honey before I planted. These are just cuttings, so I pulled one of them on the left because it just didn't survive. It turned completely brown. As far as my morning glories, the red has not sprouted, but all of the blues have. The snapdragons are doing nicely, and in fact earlier I harvested some seeds, which I'll show you another still of that one. I've got more of these, and actually they're getting more shade right now than they should, but more of the was it royal geranium, or trying to remember the actual name, but they're geraniums, pelargoniums. All of the nasturtiums that I've transplanted are surviving. We've got these two up here, and then there's one more back here. Again, don't know what variety they are, so it'll be a surprise for me when it's a surprise for you. I've got some miscellaneous plants which were volunteers, which some of them are growing, some of them have passed, and I just moved the pots down there where they're not going to get much anyway because there's nothing in them. But that's pretty much it for here on the patio. Now out here in the courtyard, we've got the petunias. The one on the right is kind of suffering. I'm not sure what's wrong, but ultimately this whole patch of dirt here is going to get something planted in it. We'll see. We're working on a plan for that. So eventually I'll be able to move those petunias somewhere else. Perhaps what I need here is a more mature geranium. This does not look good. Actually, I can see a little bit of green life in there. I don't know if you can, but it just looks like it just got burned. I've tried giving it plenty of water. I do know that with geraniums, they do like to dry out a bit, but I figure they need some water to get established. Maybe I need to do a little more research, but this is just one of these two planters that, if I back out, you can see. They just burn. Anything I plant in them just gets burned. So, don't know what I'm going to do. I'll keep searching. The vine is doing nicely now that it's been cleaned up. I try to give it water every 2 or 3 days. Don't know what it is yet, so I don't know how much water it should get. And fertilizer-wise, I haven't been doing a whole lot, although I will say with that abundant crop on the tomatoes, I did give it, what I did was I put a little bit of used coffee grounds in there. Not a whole lot. But tomatoes, it seems, actually prefer slightly acidic soil. That would have also raised the nitrogen, which they don't necessarily like. They want sort of medium nitrogen, but perhaps the nitrogen was low in that one, so in this case it seems to have helped. I'm considering possibly doing that with the other tomatoes. We'll see. We'll look at that next episode. The nasturtiums along the back of the office are still doing nicely, although I've only got the ones on either end actually producing flowers. Okay, and so for this particular plant, I'm going to give you a shot of the flower, better shot of the flower, and I also want to show you the seeds which are developing down here. So that's it, I think, for outside. The Nandine is not looking quite as good as I'd like at this point. I kind of expected it to get bigger and fill out a little bit more. It may be the weather, or it may be the soil, or it may be the lack of sun. So I think I'm going to have to, as far as I understand, Nandinas can actually survive in shade, but I'm giving serious consideration to redoing these planters. I might even toss them because in a sense they're just kind of too big and there's some other issues, but after all that effort. But at least I'll recover a bunch of soil and I can fill a bunch of pots and we'll see what I come up with. I almost forgot. I had promised you guys some shots of these orange flowers when they pop, and this is right about the right time for them to be popping. Got more of them right over here, and they're in beds all over the complex, so that gives you an idea. As far as I understand, these are in the lily family. I actually asked our landscaper and he gave me a name. I'll see if I can look it up and actually give it to you here. And finally we've got the nursery. Actually not finally, I got one more thing I want to show you, but we've got the nursery. You can just kind of see how things are progressing here. The echinacea is really looking bad. The Gerber daisy not so good. I got to throw a little more water on them today, but that's that. And well, I was going to try again to see if I could catch our avian friends, but they seem to be pretty shy. I've definitely seen them. They're definitely enjoying that birdhouse style feeder, and but I can't seem to catch them on camera. We'll have to try some other issues. Maybe we can get them into next week's episode.